Okay, so we're going to go over low income, high income, and industrial storage unit locations, guys. So basically the idea of this is every time you buy a storage unit, you need to understand where in the world you're at. Like, where are you at in your city? And if it's low income, high income, or if it's more of an industrial business area. This will help you when you're buying storage units. Remember, it's all about putting all these pieces together, not just the price you're paying, not just the contents, but also where you're at and what facility you're buying from. Those are all important things, because at the end of the day, as you continuously start and continue your storage unit career, you're going to go to a lot of these facilities more than once, and you'll have quote unquote hot facilities that you bought great units from. And a lot of that has to do with also the type of people that are around there, because a lot of times people, when they rent storage units, what's the key thing with storage unit renting? It's close to wherever they're living, right? And that has a big factor in quality of storage units. And for me, I always want to understand, is it low income, high income, or if it's an industrial / business. Now, before we go, full disclosure, before I start showing you some stuff, there is exceptions to the rules. You can get really expensive units in low income areas. For example, one of my best units I bought was a unit full of brand new clothing and different things. So I'm not saying you can't take advantage of it, but more often than not, you want to understand where you're at, because that will help you in your buying decision. Remember, this is all my experiences in one course. I just want to put everything out there, and you can determine if it's going to help you or not. Okay? So the first thing is this works for live. So let's say you go to a live auction and there's an auctioneer there. You know where you're going, so you can do the research before you go, if it's a low income, high income, or industrial area. And a lot of times too, you'll know because you live around those areas too. Majority of the time. So let's say you go to a storage unit and you type in your zip code, or you're going to a live auction and you pull up your GPS and you're going to the auction. You're going to research which units you're going to go to and what kind of location you're going to. So, for example, the one thing that I look for is what location, what type, what's around it, right? So let's say I'm going to a storage unit kind of around Portland, Oregon. The first thing that I'll check is, what is it around? Is it an industrial area, low income area? And let's say I'm going to this auction right here as a live auction and or online. I will click the location and I want to learn a little bit about that area. This is an industrial area. This is basically a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses are around this area, right? So the one thing that I'll do is I'll actually pull up the facility and then I'll look around it, and you can clearly see that this is an industrial area. And the reason I want to know this when I buy the storage units there, especially if you're going live, because you don't have pictures ahead of time. If you're going live, you don't have pictures ahead of time, so you kind of want to get the lay of the land. If you're buying it online, you already have the pictures. It's just kind of giving you an idea of what's in the unit, if it's a high income area or low income area. But in this case, if we're going live, we have no idea. So I want to know the area if I've never been there. Okay, this is probably if you've never been here before. This is an industrial area. What does that tell me? A really great chance of probably seeing business storage units. Possibly businesses have storage units at this location. And I'm into buying business storage units. It's one of my most favorite storage units to buy is an old business that went out of business or whatever the case may be. So I want to know for the first time, if I've never been to the facilities, what type of location I'm at. This is an industrial area, okay? This is a business industrial area. So that's one thing I want to look for. I also want to look for, is it low income or high income? I don't actually do this anymore, but you could pull up the state of Oregon, and you can pull up income and see which locations, which counties are higher income versus lower income. Because remember, I want to buy really great stuff. And I'm not saying you can't go to a low income area and buy a really nice locker, but the chances of buying higher end lockers are probably better at higher income areas, right? just like this, I'm sure you can pull up in your state and find out kind of the higher income areas in your state. And this is kind of typically where you'd want to buy the storage units, in my opinion, right? Especially if you're live, because if you've never been to the facilities, you don't know the lay of the land, so you kind of want to do a little digging before you go, possibly, right? Most storage unit buyers are too lazy to do this stuff, but I feel like if you do this stuff, it puts you over your competition, gets you ready, and you can understand kind of more lay of the land when you're buying units, and hopefully buy some great units, right? So I like to know in my state where I buy storage units, where the higher income is and the lower income is, right? And it makes sense that the lower income is by the coast. Higher income is part of these, you know, big, I mean, they're Portland and kind of bigger areas over here. So that's kind of what I want to understand. Is it low income, high income, and industrial? And one way you can do that is when you go online, you can go to any site that has a storage facility up for auction, and you can click that company and it'll give you the exact location, and you can find out if that's a good location or if it's a low income location. This is actually a very low income area. A lot of lower income area of Portland. So this is a kind of lower income area. So does it make sense to drive all the way over there if I don't have photos and we're doing it live? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I go to another auction that's closer to me. So understanding what type of area that you're buying the storage units in is very important. It's different when you have a little bit of photos because you can kind of get an idea, obviously, before you go what's in it. But if you're going live, I like to look up the area to make sure I'm spending my time wisely, because time is very important in the storage unit game. Also, you can go to, if you go to online or live, and you see like Sherwood. Sherwood's a very expensive high income area of Portland, of Oregon. It's close to Portland. So you click this area here, and this is a very expensive area. Lake Oswego, this area, Tualatin, Sherwood, this is one of the most expensive areas in Oregon. It's very expensive. $1 million homes across this area. Very expensive area. So this is an expensive area up here, lower income area. Over here by the Willamette Valley, or Willamette River, this is all industrial businesses. So you've got to understand kind of where you're buying your storage units from. Over here is lower income area. So if you're going live, it's important to know where you're going to save time, because let's say there's an auction over here in the lower income area, but the same day there's an auction in the Lake Oswego area, this area. I'm going to want to go to this area because it's closer and it's higher income than going all the way over here and possibly not getting a good unit, right? So understanding where you're going and what part of the map you're going is very important, especially when going live. And when you're going online, it kind of gives you an idea, okay, I like this unit, but it's in a very low income area. Does it make sense to buy this unit, or does it make sense to wait and hold off and buy something that's kind of closer to me that possibly has better items in it? So again, a few things that you need to look for: low income, high income, and industrial. Know your area. Just like when you're selling something, you need to know what you're selling. So, as a reseller, buying and selling stuff, for me, I need to know what I'm selling. As a storage unit buyer, you need to know where you're going and what facilities you're going to be buying these units at.